the month, no, wait, the third Thursday in the month. So
Okay.
this is the experimental version of Retireholics. We've done a conspiracy show. We did a kind of random topic show. We did
Which
a
was fun.
we did a no plan show. And today we're going to dig deep into the archives and look at some older Retireholics episodes. Each of us has chosen one. Play a little fun clip so you can see kind of from the old days. And then that'll kick off a topic discussion that we'll kind of talk in the current modern day. In doing this research for myself, a couple of fun facts. I realized that there is 216 Retireholics videos on YouTube. The first one was published to YouTube on June 4th in 2015. It was filmed, I believe, because there's a Christmas tree in the corner in December of 2014. I am claiming, and I think rightly so, that 2025 will be the 10-year anniversary of Retireholics. Wow, really cool. That's great. Pat yourself on
That
the
is
back.
cool.
Awesome. However, as I also went back and looked at a lot of these episodes to kind of find one that I wanted to go do, I was astonished at how fucking dog shit most of them are. Like, there's some bad fucking. I mean, I'm
Like
just
in the beginning days, or we're
I
talking
mean,
the
just
entire span?
choose any era you want. There's a lot of dog shit in there, you know. There's some you're stepping on some shit if you're trying to wade through those waters. But somehow, through just pure stupidity or whatever, like we're still doing this. I got some plans for 2025 that I'll share with everyone towards the end of this show. But let's see. We started off, maybe Chad, if I was to ask you, I'm sure people have asked you, when we decided to film the first Retireholics, like what was the genesis? Like, why were we doing this? What was the purpose?
Well, initially, I think we started with 401k Academy and we had a segment in it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we had good content, good reviews on that session. And then you and I would meet often and we would walk away going, shit, if an advisor could listen into that conversation, what we're talking about for this week, what we experienced, what we learned, what we didn't know, that would be incredibly valuable. And that was, in my mind, part of the genesis of it is saying, let's just figure out a way to sit on a couch and talk about retirement plan shit that people will enjoy
Right.
and actually gain value from.
You combine that with the fact that Brandon had been whispering in our ear for a long time that like, hey, we should do video, you know? So instead of having to like go out and do like a seminar at a local steakhouse or whatever, we were thinking, wait, we can just film this shit, edit it, and then make it available to anyone at any time. It seemed like a really like forward thinking concept back then. Now it's like, of
It
course,
was.
duh. So it was also our version of like, okay, this will be our marketing. Like this, you know, sorry, plug, like we'll market our firm through this thing. The years evolve and we end up doing some live shows, which was never the intention. And I just jotted down a list. I may have missed something here, but we end up doing live shows on stage for audiences at different industry conferences in Chicago, Las Vegas, San Diego, Nashville, Palos Verdes, right where Tiger drove his car off the road there, Orlando, Washington, D.C., somewhere in Texas. I forget where we went in Texas, Dallas or Austin or both. I don't know.
Both.
Both. Scottsdale, Portland, Oregon. And believe it or not, not on the beach, but pretty much on the beach in Waikiki on Oahu in Hawaii. And I've probably left some out, but holy shit, we went all those places to do those shows. So what's that?
Nashville.
You say Nashville?
Nashville. So that to me was kind of my favorite part of the evolution of Retireholics is those live shows because they're a lot of fun. For my clip tonight, I'm referencing a live show that we did that I think was like our first one. And I was watching the clip and I remember being nervous. And we'll talk about it later because I fuck up on our guest or whatever. But I actually remember being nervous on stage and I feel like I can hear it in my voice. But Maybe I covered it up all right. I don't know. The wheel of ice used to be, if no one's been around since the old days, 9 years ago, the wheel of ice was this stupid, dumb parody joke, not a parody joke. It's just a stupid, dumb joke of like, we'd spin this wheel, which originally was like a piece of cardboard, and it would always land on Robe Guy no matter what. And it evolved into different wheels. And so I miss those days. And this is the last thing I want to say to you guys. As I think about what our audience or our community would want from Retireholics, and I'd love to get feedback from people out there. Like, what would your dream episodes or shows look like? Like, what could we do to tweak or make it better in this coming 10th year of doing this? I look back and I think we were a lot more fun back in the day. I feel like we've matured way too much. I'm looking back at situations where Chad had a 12-pack carton on his head for a portion of the show, and we would put his hand in mouse traps and sting him with things or rip hair off of his body. And Robe Guy would be so fucking drunk we'd have to do like these after show things with Robe Guy as he's literally like passing out. Like, we used to like really rock and roll that shit. And now I just feel like we're so corpo, man. Like, we need to get
COVID.
Yeah, I would agree, Justin. It's hard when we're not all together, JD. The catalyst, the fuel that comes when you're feeding off each other's energy in person is a big difference.
You kind of bring up the next era, if you will. Like, if we could be like Taylor Swift, the next era is what Justin said, was COVID hits. And we go, okay, let's do this shit online and let's do it twice a week. And that had its own vibe, you know, with everyone kind of coming together as a community. And so, yeah, that was kind of involved. And then we get to where we're at. But whatever, we'll keep it going. It's kind of fun to look back. And you all will get to look back at some of them tonight on this episode. So let's take it away. The concept here is I challenge each of you to look back through past episodes, find one that you wanted to reference, give the clip to Brandon. He'll play the clip, and then we can kind of kick it off as the topic of conversation. Yes, go.
I was going to say, you have to add that it's supposed to carry some sort of value, because there were so many clips I wanted to send over that were hilarious and fun. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. You have to have something that leads to content.
I wanted to get the clip of JD running off the stage to take a poop
to go
poo. Would have
middle of a live show.
Yeah,
that was bad. That's a low point for me. All the stress leading up to that was really bad. I thought I might shit my pants.
What about on that note? Sorry, I got to bring this up. What about the episode that we were it was this version where you were in Hawaii and you took us in the urinal so you can go pee?
Yeah, when you're in the airport.
It's in the airport. Yeah, it's, you know what? It's so pompous and so narcissistic, if that's a word, when people talk about their own past podcast episodes. So I apologize to everyone listening in, but
it's fun still.
We'll do it a little bit tonight. I
do miss Tahoe JD, Tahoe Chad, Tahoe Justin, Tahoe Mark.
Oh, I mean,
we need a little bit more of Tahoe. You've had some Tahoes recently, JD.
Thank you. I do it for the show. I literally do it for the show. Yes, Chad's beard is off the chain. And Tony Davis said earlier, I loved that. What was the segment we do where we go to people's rooms, like their houses, and
the Webby room rating?
Webby room rating. And I felt like Nevin Adams, like I was really creeped out by his house at the first time I saw it. I guess the lights weren't on. Nursing a Coors Light. I'm going at it. I'm already into the second little space age bottle here. Who's gonna go first? Let's go with Robe Guy first. Roby, I don't know if you want to set up your clip or Brandon's just gonna play it, or it's up to you.
I'm not really sure what Brandon's about to play because I forgot to do the assignment last night and I woke up in a panic on the couch at 11:30 and I emailed him something from my phone, which I think I did. I'm pretty sure, unless I was sleepwalking. So Brandon, take it away, man. What did I send you? If you even got mine.
Quote, getting ripped off, especially in the early stages of the plan, which John Oliver's was. Or in a sales process. What ends up happening if a plan is getting ripped off, meaning fees are too high, is they've been in one stationary complacent position for far too long, with a program that doesn't tear down their costs with
Right.
growth. They went from a $1 million plan to a $20 million plan, and there's been no concession in pricing. That's an issue in my mind.
Okay, so now I can tee this up a little bit. The clip probably won't do it justice, but that show, which was, God, that was a long time ago, guys. We were discussing that video from John Oliver, who was basically ripping to shreds like 401k fees, ripping to shreds advisors, and took people through the process of like when they just decided, his show decided to set up their own plan and going through it and uncovering fees.
It was
And
Hancock was their record keeper, if I remember.
right, calling out Hancock by name. The funny thing is they didn't mention the broker. They called him a broker, or him or her a broker. They didn't name the person or the firm that they were with. I hate that word, but they did say after that they were going to move to a different advisor and then move to Vanguard. And so they were basically pushing this agenda of like, this is too expensive. You should only be using index funds. You shouldn't use an advisor unless they're a fiduciary, like, and bringing up all these concepts, which I think like back then was, you know, at the time when he was saying all of it, like, I think it gave pause to a lot of people and it opened up a lot of conversations. It gave people the ability to look at this at a different way and start maybe asking questions that they weren't, or talk to their advisor. Just, it kind of, again, good and bad. But I also think like you flip forward to now, and I still think that that discussion is incredibly valid. I don't see, you know, a lot that has changed, but we can all agree that there have been attempts at change. There have been ways to reduce costs for startup plans. There's been government, you know, changes to and enforce tax credits and all these other things. So I just think it's like, I would love it if John Oliver, I don't even know if he does that show anymore, but almost did like an update, like, oh yeah, how's your Vanguard plan doing? Or how's everything now? Because you were such a proponent and a negative person of, or sorry, you were such a negative person about everything about this industry, it seems, calling advisors effectively fake, saying you go just get a piece of paper and you're one too
That's
now.
right. That was it.
And so all of that, again, was a smack in the face to a lot of people and professionals who do this. And I still think we're fighting that fight every day of people still thinking it's supposed to be cheap and there's no fees and a lot of things even on that video. And again, I'm blabbing now.
No,
but
it's good.
It gets the juices flowing again because it, you know, again, we're still having those same conversations, but the narrative has changed maybe just a little bit in our favor, but not a whole hell of a lot. So I've teed that up. Hopefully.
That's good. I always like to think of that, and that John Oliver thing was big. Like that thing carried a lot of weight all across the country. There were a lot of people talking about it. I think it came out later that I think Hancock released that plan that he was referring to is literally like sub 50K or something with like 12 people. It was a very small plan. And if you put that into context, a lot of the fees and things that he was talking about, if you actually analyze it, I'm pretty sure Hancock like divulged something. They put it out publicly and it was like, well, this is not expensive at all. So there's that fact. Just like if you were to debate John Oliver, like for that plan and the size of assets and what was being delivered from, I'm not here to defend John Hancock, but just defend the industry, was like pretty affordable for like all the services that were being given and rendered. But here's how I like to think of it, that continued challenge, and hopefully this doesn't come off as cheesy, but to me it's an opportunity to really embrace transparency. And I think that you can win new business if you can walk into plan sponsors and let them know that you're very aware of this kind of hidden fees and conflict of interest and all these things. But the proposals that you're putting in front of them, you've x-rayed them, you're popping open the hood for them and showing them every little nook and cranny, how the fee structures are, where the conflicts of interest exist. And to me, that's the opportunity, is be the do-gooder in this marketplace.
But let's be honest with each other. We're talking about startup retirement plan costs in this discussion with John Oliver. We're talking about that being a constant battle. We're also talking about businesses that for generations have refused to set up a plan because they felt that it was going to be too expensive. And that cost is $2,000 a year, $3,000 a year.
And
How is that too expensive for the business? The business owners, the people who are making these decisions that you're talking about educating and lifting open the hood for, JD, they don't know. And they won't understand the things that you're talking about. And honestly, they don't really care. What they do is they need people that are going to be accountable, that are going to say, this is the right and best solution for you. And I can confidently say, especially during that stretch of time for a startup retirement plan, going John Hancock that was going to have an institutional level share class of investments and only an asset-based expense was a super good way to launch a startup.
Right.
Asset-based expense on a plan that's going to flow $50,000 a year is freaking nothing, guys.
Well, that's what I think.
You're doing free work.
Yeah. If you
And the proprietary stable value account that you're going to end up putting $2,000 in is not going to create enough margin for them. So we have to balance education and still making sure we do what needs to be done, which is get a plan in place for those employees.
Do you feel like or am I being a conspiracy theorist as usual? Do you feel like after 40485 and 408B2, and as products, all the record keepers started to come out with institutional share class of funds, there was this really heightened interest in transparency and kind of blocking out the TPA gets this, the advisor gets this, the record keeper gets this, where before it was all this kind of behind the curtain type of thing. Is that still the course that we're on? Or have we started to kind of churn around and head back the other way a little bit? You guys would know better than me.
Yes. Is there still aspects of it? Yeah. And I think, I mean, there's still now I don't know about you guys, but I'm hearing more, not whispers, but yeah, it's happening a little bit more to where advisors are getting a upfront kick now again. And that used to be taboo.
There you go.
To where now they're getting 1% on the upfront transfer. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought we were moving away from that. It's not happening a lot, but it definitely is out there.
Yeah,
I don't mind that, by the way.
1 in 25, 1 in 25 on a $3 million takeover back in the day. Well, that was like classic.
Okay, that 1 in 25 on a $3 million takeover. Yeah. That could be a little outrageous. What I mean is there's extra work in year one. Why do TPAs charge a takeover cost? Like there's a lot of work that we do in migrating that plan and restating the document. Same for the advisor.
And
I have no problem with them charging something in that capacity.
But it can lead to confusion, right? If it's not, if it's not, accurately displayed or, shared to the client, or maybe the client's like, wait, why are we doing this? And that's kind of what we're trying to get away from and simplifying everything. Are we not?
I think we are. I thought if you would have asked me then when we were sitting in that brewery right there, I knew that things were moving towards institutional share class. I would have told you that if we sat here in 2024, that like every product, whether it was a startup or a $5 million takeover or for sure it would have to be a $50 or $100 million plan, would have institutional share class, very clean, like no conflict of interest, no revenue sharing. Like I thought that's the path we were going down.
Right.
And from what I've seen, I would have been wrong. Like I see vendors to this day doing deals with my clients that have everything to do with the revenue they're going to get from this investment option or these target date funds or this fixed account or whatever.
Yeah, let's be very clear, JD. Pretty much every product is an institutional level lineup. Pretty much every single one. There's a couple of fund families that are selling their own widgets that are not, but everything else is institutional.
So now, that's one area that's cleaner now.
That's one area, which used to be a big differentiator for some products, right? Think of Nationwide. Nationwide won a lot of business being institutional long before anybody else did. But when you talk about the other things, and let's remember, these are for-profit businesses. Someone had mentioned, oh yeah, they're nonprofits, and joking up top. They're for-profit businesses. They've had a large margin for decades. They're not all of a sudden going to get skinny and display to a client what they actually need or are making. And so they have to find a way of hiding it in some ways. And that hiding it comes through proprietary products, right? It comes through stable value, fixed accounts, their own target dates. because they make very large spreads on those investments. That I don't think really is ever going to go away until they find another way to monetize clients. And that other way we've talked about many times is going to be getting participant data and selling them other shit.
Well, I am a capitalist. I think people, companies should be able to make money. I just like the idea of living in a fiduciary world where the laws of ERISA govern things, and we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the plan participants. And therefore, I think to make those decisions, whether you're the advisor counseling a client, or you're the third-party administrator who's involved, or you're the record keeper, or you're the plan sponsor, you want to be armed with all the facts. And so I'm not against people making enough money. I just think it should be very clear. I don't like the days when it was like they'd ask an advisor how much they made, and they'd say, "Oh, it's
so shut up and sign a fucking form."
it's built into the product, you know.
Do you have a pen?
It is what it is. And instead of saying, "Oh, I'm the advisor, I make 25 basis points on your $5 million. This is what it equates to." Heck, even if you're like, "Hey, my broker dealer takes a sliver," not that the client cares about that. So this is how much I walk home with. This is your TPA. They bill you $3,000 a year. These are the fund companies. These are the share classes. This is what they make. I thought that was just a great way to go. And I feel like we're muddying the waters again, which I don't think is the best thing.
JD, and we can transition if that's what you're ready to do, but I have to remind you of this story. I was 6 months into the industry. I knew nothing about the space. We went and saw an advisor in the East Bay. I won't throw a name out there. And the two of us sat on the backside of his desk when we were escorted into his office. And he moved over to the table and he immediately said, "You guys should be better than that. If I'm sitting at my desk when we meet, I'm going to be distracted by my computer. You need to get me over to the table on the side." We're like, okay, interesting. And then we started to chat a little bit. And he was very clear in saying, "Why do you care what I make?" It talking about a client. "Why would a client care what I make if I'm giving them a 5% rate of return?" And he just used 5% as a number. And he's like, if John and Sally and I are all getting 5%, why do you care if I'm making 9% off the investment versus if I'm making 1%?
Yeah.
And you and I both sat back and went, because we would rather gain the other 8% on our rate of return versus you making 9% in there. And it was mind-blowing to him, and it was mind-blowing to me that as a community, we thought it was okay at that stage.
Well, you know where that comes
we
from,
could make
right?
it comes from the annuity play and
I think
the margins on life insurance at that point. Like, I think that's where it came from.
I was going to say it comes more from like the wealth management world of Wall Street, which is like, look, if my client wants to get certain returns and I can get them for him or her, and I take the leftover for my profit, who cares? I'm doing the job. But that doesn't live in ERISA. That's not a okay thing in ERISA.
It shouldn't necessarily live in private wealth management either.
Right.
Like, that's an absurd amount of money and spread to take off a client. But so I guess I'll leave it at this and say, we have become so much more transparent. It is much easier to analyze costs nowadays than it was in the past. The only thing that really continues to throw a wrench, two things. One is proprietary products and the margins they're making, and what many providers still won't let you even strip them out. So it's hard to know what it is they need to do their work when you cannot sell the plan without proprietary product. And the other is JD shelf space is back in. Yeah. Remember when shelf space went away back, 10, 12 years ago? It's back in. Mutual fund families you want on our platform, give us massive kickbacks. We'll lower participant costs, but what we're really doing is retaining that to create margin.
We've never really dived into that on this show. Like, I guarantee you there are dark boardrooms where deals between record keepers and mutual fund providers, this kind of like revenue share that's below the table, you're kind of pay to play that you're talking about, the shelf space concept, and it never really gets discussed. But I know that those deals exist out there, and they should also be part of the mix. But there's a little there's still these the dark web of that stuff that doesn't really get talked about. I remember when everything we used to do on the show early on was like, okay, how could an advisor use this? And so I just want to state one more time to that point I made earlier is if I was a financial advisor, I would be damn good at understanding all the relationships between all the different parties, who's making what, whether that's fair and prudent and in the best interest of my clients. And I would get really good at being able to communicate that to my prospects and my clients, and really good to Chad's point of like being able to put it on paper too, you know, some analysis to show everyone. Cause I think that's a great way still. It was back then. And to Roby's point earlier, today it's still true. Like, I think that's a great way to win people's trust and deliver valuable services for them. Cause there's a lot of advisors still this day that don't quite understand all the details that go along with all that stuff. So. Yeah, that was at the Half Moon Bay Brewery. And remember, we had the owner, the brewer himself, sit on the show and go through some beers that he had.
In a weird turn of events, now his son-in-law is our loans and distribution guy.
Oh, that's right.
I don't even know that.
Eric Topman.
That's
Eric Topman. Yeah, that's the owner of Half Moon Bay Brewery, and yeah, that's his father-in-law.
I didn't know
back
that.
when we used to introduce a beer of the episode.
Yeah, beer of the episode. That's right. That's right. Oh, diving in, you'll see it on my clip later. I forgot that Acrosin. I didn't forget, but I was reminded that Acrosin was something that our community had given to us. The concept.
Yeah.
We used to have a word of the episode, and we'd have to pick a new word every time we do a new show. Let's go to Chad's. Let's go to fucking Chad's. So Chad, you take it away. Do you want to set it up? Do you want Brandon to play it? What do you want to do?
Go ahead and play it, Brandon. I don't think it needs setup.
I wouldn't put it past
that would be awesome.
You mentioned that you have benefit side, you have 401k side. I obviously follow you. I love reading some of your stuff. You talk about wealth and health. Mm-hmm. My question for you would be twofold. Number one, I've been waiting years to see an advisor who quantifies for their client kind of a total compensation package.
Yeah, we do that.
I always feel like, okay.
We do that.
So expand on that.
All right, so we did this for a client that was, it was a private equity backed client. So companies that are owned by private equity are pretty much interested in getting as much EBITDA as possible, right? And so we had gone in, done a lot of stuff on their employee benefits program, kind of stripped some cost out without really increasing the cost for the employees, move them to a new record keeper, reduce the cost of the 401k, so reduce the tax rate on the employee, let's call it that. And we had shown, and then this company was pretty benevolent. They had a safe harbor match, so if you put in 5, you're getting 4. They were fully funding the health savings account in January, so getting either $1,000 or $2,000, which is really rich benefit in January, which is very unusual. And so what we did is we showed these employees and we broke it out. We said, look, if you make $57,000 and you live in Mississippi, which is where half the company was based, and if you put 5% in your 401k and you defer $1,000 into your HSA, your taxable comp, it went from 57 to let's say it was 52, right? So this is what you need to live off of. And then if you add back in your deferral, plus the deferral in the 401k and the HSA, plus the match on the HSA and the 401k, your actual total comp is $59,000. It's that's pretty badass.
I feel like you and Eric could be long lost brothers.
I know. You're speaking my language right
but
now.
But it's great, and the employee population was really they were braced. The HR team was really kind of.
Are you playing the entire episode for us?
It's 3 minutes long,
and a lot of the employees afterwards holy cow, this is pretty awesome, And so we've continued to do that as much as we can. A lot of cross pollination with the benefits
awesome.
team.
I've been waiting to hear and see something like that.
But it doesn't. I think a lot of advisors don't work close enough with their benefits team or the benefits team that's outside of them. And then number one, the benefits just don't want to communicate with the FAs.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think it's awesome that you guys are on both the benefits and the wealth side. The second part of that question would be gamification.
Don't play the second part, B. There you go.
Why am I getting lit the fuck up in this chat?
Your man spreading, bro.
Hey, at least I have a beer in front of it, okay? Jesus.
Oh, I forgot Justin's got flip-flops on too. They're both just doing that Cali.
Hey, we were sitting in your house, which was warm, and it was in San Diego, and it was beautiful out.
Why do you have to cross your leg? I'm just so confused. Like, why can't I sit
It's always been
comfortably?
a thing.
I won't, yeah, I won't cross my legs if everybody else is, because I hate doing what everyone else does. So
this is Aaron Potachin for those of you out there who, but this is like what, 5-6 years ago or something, and he's talking about what Chad, like not just doing 401k, but measuring all benefits and what the participant's choice is. Like, should I be in this group health selection, or should I put my money into the 401k? Or so this is what you want to discuss.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much the tie to the 401k as it was we as an industry are trying to encourage people to save. And the conversations around matching have gotten better over the years, explaining the free money, but still the average employee thinks I can't afford to, which is why automatic enrollment has taken over and it's been so effective. But they still sit back and go, yeah, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can't save. And Aaron is sitting there going, I'm going to prove to you how much money you're leaving on the table if you don't. And even beyond that, he's going in because they're on the benefit side saying, well, let's look at what your benefits cost to your employer. And let's look at the other things that they're providing to you as an employee. And let's create a total compensation packet so that you understand what it is that you make as an employee here. And to me, and I was thinking about that. And yes, Tony, this is the pick I picked. And the reason I did is because to this day, still not seen a single other company doing this.
No one's doing it.
Not one other company doing it. And not us. And I think to even at Plan Design, and I think of all the wonderful benefits we have, the safe harbor and the group health, and the long-term care and the life insurance. And
you mean you haven't seen a plan sponsor do it, an employer?
Well, yeah, because I tie this to not your typical advisor, but I understand this is a shit ton of work on an advisor that's not on all aspects of the benefits. But why have we not seen a good technology that does this? Why haven't we seen plan sponsors embrace this? Why haven't we seen more advisors use this as a differentiator? Is it because it's too difficult? I don't think so, Justin. I really don't.
And I agree with you with that. I doubt. And you might have mentioned this and I didn't hear it. But the other thing I loved what he was doing with that data was not just for the participant, but he was also measuring when anytime there was changes year over year, let's say in participant, deferrals or participation overall. And since he was on the benefit side, he would be able to point to, oh, well, you change your health benefits and it added more cost to your employees, so they started saving less. And I loved how he used all that data. And I think it was brilliant.
I've seen new advisors. I've seen experienced advisors starting a new firm that this was their business model. They wanted to do exactly what Aaron was talking about. I kind of poo-pooed it at the time when they told me, well, this is many years ago. I'm like, you should just focus on 401k. Like, I don't know why you're trying to get into all this other stuff. But I will also tell you now that this is definitely happening in the big space, right? Like the one digitals, like the corporate one digitals and the Aons and the big companies are working with their larger clients and absolutely trying to get control over all benefits. And the obvious way for them to do that is to execute on what Potachin's talking about here and what you're a big fan of.
We had it, Justin.
Where is Aaron right now?
If you remember back to our Vail Resorts days, remember Vail, we were there in 07, 08, and it was a tough time in the world, and Vail Resorts was struggling. They were not providing pay increases, and they came to their full-time good employees and they said, we'll give you an option. You can get, at the time, I want to say it was like $1.50 more an hour or $2 more an hour, or you can get stock options. And they quantified it for us. Like the release that they gave to us was, here's the value of the Vail Resort stock. This is what your actual take-home pay looks like when we quantify that out over the course of a 12-month period. I, being the dumb guy I am, took the $1.50 an hour instead of the Vail Resort stock. But that was the only time in my working career I've seen it. And it was impactful. They showed what the group health costs were. They showed what my time off was.
How do you guys feel about this? And maybe this isn't accurate, but I think it is. When I provide group health benefits for all my employees, if you are single, without dependents, without a family, you're very cheap for me as a line item.
You're welcome.
Or if you don't use them because I'm on my wife's
Yeah,
insurance.
great point. Great. And that's actually a valid point. Or if you've declined,
I'm saving you thousands, JD.
for sure. So would you like to see employers like me go, well, wait a second, I should look at each employee and kind of have a budget for benefits, like what I'm willing to spend? I mean, you couldn't do this in the 401k space, right? I couldn't give Justin a bigger match because he cost
No,
me.
but couldn't you adjust the salary you're providing people in that exact same scenario?
While we're on the
Couldn't
topic,
you look in?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't we have this conversation right now?
Let's move on from this conversation.
Chad, your whole if you want to raise, sell more just went out the fucking window, buddy.
Yeah.
And by the way, everyone in the chat bar, I know this is a bummer for you. We've heard this on a couple of the experimental shows, but there's no Acrosin. There's no Wheel of Ice. You don't even have to drink if you don't want to. I almost was just gonna like eat some.
Mark is on a cleanse.
Yeah, so God bless you. You don't have to. So don't be pressuring us to drink more or do whatever. This is a mature experimental webinar.
We just lost 2,000 people dropped off the attendance. Yeah.
1,000 people just bailed. Okay. Yeah. Again, if you're going to try to take value from this conversation for a 401k pro,
it should not be a 401k pro.
No,
Let me make that clear.
I was going to start there. To at least be dangerous in those areas would be a good skill. So let's say you're not even trying to generate revenue from those other sides, but at least understand them and know them and be able to communicate with employees about what their choices are is a great first step. But if you really want to like build your business and get more revenue for yourself and do more good for your clients, you should still consider getting into these other things and providing an all-in resource for the human resources people, for the CFOs, for everyone at your clients to really help those employees. And by the way, I'm sure the employees would love to go to one person or one firm that like, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I'm sure they would love that. Like the guy that can help them with their health insurance decisions as well as their 401k.
And I'm not, let me make it clear. When I look at that topic and the reason I chose it and what I was hoping to get out of it, it's not so much to tell an advisor that this is what they should be doing or that they need to be doing this. It's that I think as a whole, businesses should be doing it. And I think it would carry a great deal of value to the employees and it would create a much happier, healthier working staff. And so if an advisor could use that as a differentiator to then get in there, they don't need to become the group health guy in order to get it. You just need to be able to have the support, the tech, and gather the data in order to show a full compensation package. I don't think that's too far out there.
Devin asked if you can scale it. You talk about right now some of the challenges. I've gone on a soapbox many times about this, and you've all heard my gas station analogy of, adding the car wash, adding the quickie mart, adding the auto body shop or mechanic shop, to not just sell gas and make more revenue. And so I say this again, if you're an advisor, in my mind, you're an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, you should always look at how can you maximize revenue, not in an evil way. How can you maximize revenue and value for your clients? And so, yes, this is scalable. And how dare you think, oh, I only know 401k. There's no way I could help people with benefits beyond that. Are you a fucking idiot? Like, it's not that hard to learn that shit and add it to your business model.
Let's be honest, nobody only knows 401k, though. There's not a single advisor that specializes only in that.
Well, they're out there, but no one, what I'm not asking you to do is sell financial services and then also asking you to like sell them computer equipment or something. No one's asking you to do like multiple things. I'm just saying in your genre, which is financial services, you should be providing this counsel and this advice and making revenue in other areas besides just the 401k. But we've talked about that forever. Okay, I'm excited to see, I mean, we don't have to leave my clip for last. Well, I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna go now, and then Justin can go last. So my clip comes from what I think was our first live show, which was at the Drake Hotel in Chicago. We were there for the Plan Sponsor Council of America's 70th annual conference. So this was an audience of plan sponsors. And if you guys remember, we had a guest coming up. Once again, we did this thing where we get like local breweries, and we had a guest from the brewery, and I totally forgot to even ask him to come up on stage. Like, I was so nervous I forgot about him in general. But I had a topic which was 401k hidden fees. Like, I was trying to teach this room of plan sponsors the tricks of the industry and how people were hiding things from them in terms of revenue. So Brandon, play the clip, and it's not 3 minutes long. Thank God.
Board of directors, everything is 100% volunteer. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Dave's
really
smarty.
hoping he was gonna say
Dave's got to
conference.
get out of here while the ship goes down.
You just said it, by the way. There you go.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Good call. Okay, so as I jumped to before, a lot of plan sponsors, whether they realize it or not, are influenced by a fee comparison. Think spreadsheet, because it's a normal human instinct to try to put things side by side. I sure know it's your instinct, you know. And
It's because he loves spreadsheets.
do you know what percentage of plan sponsors the fee comparison is crucial in their decision-making process?
Retireholics
82.3.
fake percentage
Yeah.
or a real legitimate percentage?
83.6% of plan sponsors. It's a big part of their decision-making process.
It's a
I made that number up, but it's something
course.
close to that. It's something close to that. And so,
All right,
so it's important for them to understand how those things are built.
All right. So I got a list here. I'd like to kind of go back to this topic again. And fee comparisons was the one we brought up right there. So let's start it with that one. This is still a thing. I see this in the proposals you guys do. I see this with advisors that I sit down and chat with, where I think the industry would call it a spreadsheet. I didn't even look at any of these chats about what was going on up there, but I do think Justin does look pretty pimp dog in his blazer and stuff over there. So I know that people are spreadsheeting things. And one of my concerns is when you spreadsheet fees from, let's say it's an incumbent, like it's a takeover plan, and you're saying, okay, here's your current fee structure, and here's an option that I want to show you. One of the numbers is the expense ratio, is the cost of the investment options, is the fund. And I was trying to tell this room full of plan sponsors that, boy, you really better trust the person that's putting that number on that spreadsheet, because there's a variety of ways that you could calculate that number, whether it's 80 basis points or 75 or 1.25 or whatever it is. Is this still happening today? Are you requesting proposals from record keepers? And in the very proposal itself, it's saying, this is the average cost of the investments. Is that still happening?
Oh, 100% of the time.
Right. And so let's be clear to everyone listening.
Well, that's not true. Fidelity does not even give you a list of investments.
Okay.
They don't tell you share class. They send you nothing. They just show what their build expense will be. That is
Now, for the pros out there, you all know, for the kind of people that are just getting into this business or haven't been in that long, there's so many different ways that I could show that expense ratio. It could be weighted, across assets. It could be just an average of what I've chosen. What I don't like is, imagine you're going after I say I don't like this. I'm curious what the chat bar thinks and you guys. Let's say you're going after a $3 million plan, and that $3 million plan has actively managed funds for its core menu, okay? For whatever reason, that's what they got. And those funds may be average 1%. They're A shares or R3 share equivalents or something like that, okay? Like it or not. And then you come in and show a similar share class, okay? Let's assume you're gonna show R3 A shares as well, but you're gonna show index funds or passive funds. And so your average expense ratio is gonna be, I should have gone institutional and make it easier for everyone, but sorry. So theirs is at 1.10 or whatever, and you're gonna show yours at 75 or 70 or something, okay? This is, to me, apples to bananas and a sleight of hand. You're telling this client that you're a lot cheaper than they are, but it's because you're offering to sell them something entirely different. Is this good or bad in your guys' viewpoint? Chat bar, everybody.
I'll answer. I have no issue with it whatsoever if the advisor is a believer in passive and is going to support that reasoning.
Good answer. I would just prefer that advisor then state that in a transparent way.
Yeah.
Let's open up the doors to everybody here. And JD, you've been a little removed from this side of it for a few years. So maybe this will come as a surprise to you.
Why is that not a clip?
I was going to say it.
That should be a clip, Brandon. Go back and find it.
What do we do at PDC? Because we do a great deal of supporting advisors in a feasibility study and benchmarking this stuff. I have taught the guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, that we don't take what is on the proposal, because most of the time they're going to show 7 basis points as the expense ratio. But we have determined that on an institutional share class of investments, which is what pretty much everything is, that an average fund lineup of passive and active is going to average somewhere around 21 to 25 basis points in that range. And so when we tend to benchmark, or at least I do, I usually show each of the providers at the same investment expense ratio, 21 to 25, somewhere in that range.
I am seeing a halo appear over your head right now as you speak.
Does it benefit us most of the time? Now, this is the dirty part. Yes, it does. Because when we're looking at the current lineup, most of the time their institutional based lineup is heavily active. And it ends up being in that 42 to 44 range. Do I sometimes feel guilty stepping in there because they could have the same 21 basis point lineup in their current program? Do I feel guilty showing them at 40 and us at 21? I do. I do. But the truth is, I shouldn't, because the advisor is going to line up a lineup that's at 21 basis points.
Well, yeah, if they have an advisor that is paying attention or feels passionately about that lineup, then that's fine that they're there. Doesn't mean that you can't show what you guys can do.
I just think the right thing then would be you could kind of like sleazy do this where you're still being like truthful, is where you seems like an oxymoron there I just said, but if you say to that client, because the client doesn't really get it, but you say, look, your current structure has a lot of actively managed funds. I believe, as a theory in 401k, in index and passive funds. And so the funds that I'm showing you are more affordable just by their nature. And so then you're being honest, instead of kind of making the fib that Chad's worried about, is you're kind of saying your current record keeper has a product that's too expensive. And the reality is, no, that current record keeper could use the very same funds that you're offering in most cases. Yep. And so it is a bit of sleight of hand. So I
will say, JD, we have evolved a little bit. Some of the record keepers, especially in the micro space, are forcing their own proprietary target date funds. And some of them, they've come full circle, have only active managed target date funds.
Right.
And so if we're trying to compare two different lineups, and one is using a BlackRock TDF and one is using an actively managed TDF, I don't show that vendor at the same 21 basis points, because we know the TDFs are going to be in there and it's going to raise the average lineup cost.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because that was the next part of this segment, was where else does wrongdoing happen? And for that audience there in Chicago, I said it was target date funds, but I should have said, and I'll correct myself today, as like proprietary requirements. So this is another game that still happens to this day. You just mentioned it, is I may have my own target date funds that I'm shoving down your throat, whether active or passive, irrelevant to me, but this is revenue for my firm, the record keeper. I may also have the GIC or the fixed account that is my own. And I've seen this recently. I've seen this actually for large clients where they're forcing that client. This is $150 million client where they're forced to have the proprietary GIC in the program. And I know that a lot of revenue is being generated off that. So this is my next question is in terms of games that are played and transparency and where advisors could provide value is in the analysis of proprietary requirements, target date funds, as well as fixed or GICs and those types of things. I don't like that stuff. I feel like the clients don't understand it. And so it's difficult for them to make decisions around it.
Why do you think they do it?
Why do they do it? Well, so you're gonna say it's okay because they need to make revenue.
I'm not going to say it's okay. I'm going to say they do it because clients don't understand it, which is what you just said, and they need to create revenue because everything's getting thinner on the record keeping side.
See, I feel like the answer should be no games. You have to tell the client how much do you need to make on this plan per year. You know, like
in their mind, let me defend them, JD, because in their mind, that's what they're doing. But what they're saying is our product only offers this GIC, this fixed account, the stable value. Therefore, this is what we need because this is your only option. We're going to make spread here. So this is what we need over here. If they had the option of we're going to allow you to have an outside stable value or fixed, then I get it. That is a fair conversation to have. What you have not seen, which guys, I don't know if you have recently done any, and I'll throw it out there, One America proposals, but they will actually say my required revenue is 18 basis points. And when you dive in to the 18 basis points, what it actually is we need 25, but we're expecting 200,000 to go into our fixed account, which has no asset charge on it. And since there's no asset charge on it, then we're expecting our average asset charge as a whole now is 18 basis points. That to me is super dirty.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're still charging the 25 bips, you said?
25 to everybody else. Okay. But the people who go in the fixed are getting no asset charge. Therefore, they're representing their average at 18.
One more time. If you're a newer advisor out there listening in later here on the recorded show on YouTube or whatever, I think you need to understand this stuff. And I think you need to be the client advocate that can show your prospects and clients how this works and win their trust. Because there's a lot of dirty little games going on like that. And I don't like it. I think me personally, you need to know I'm pretty transparent with what I need to make per client. You do a lot of custom deals, Chad, where you come to me, and that's exactly what we say to the advisor. We need to make X amount on this plan because of its size, because of its complexity, because of whatever. And then we deal with revenue share in terms of, hey, if revenue share can cover part of that, that's great. Then we can bring down the fee. But record keepers should act the same way I'm acting in this situation as I'm explaining it. They should be able to say, we need to make 40K. And we anticipate making 18K from the fixed account. So when you make the rest of it over here, like it should be clear like that, as opposed to underneath the water, the surface, you know. That's just my take. Now, I felt very good about telling this room there in Chicago these little tricks. And when I looked into their eyes, I saw them like really interested. I remember the day like, oh my God, this guy's kind of popping open the hood on how this industry works. Marcus have so much fun on the show. He's just gets to read the chat bar. I don't get to see any of this.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've zoned out for like 10 minutes just reading all these comments.
It's the best part of the show. So yeah, it was fun to be in Chicago. It's funny to think that I was nervous because I don't feel like I get nervous at all anymore on those things. I guess that just comes with time. But that was like the first time I'm like, what are we doing on a stage? Like with mics and lights on us and fucking curtains behind us. Like I didn't know I guess
that was our first ever with an audience.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was our first big in person.
Well, no, because we had done I guess, yeah, that was our first in front of an actual audience. We had done Wealth at Work and stuff like that before, but it wasn't an actual.
I don't think
No.
so.
No.
Wealth at Work was our first conference we ever did.
SCA.
Yeah, that was
the
the first
SCA.
one
I
we
think
ever
was
did.
the first one.
This was before.
I
Wealth
don't
at Work.
know. Fact check,
I'm
Justin, right
Yeah,
now.
fact check that. Okay, let's go to Justin. How do you want to do it? What do you got? What do you got for us?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't know how long my clip is, so I'm
He's
I'll tell you when to
nervous.
stop. I guess I will preface it with we had a question. This was the Disneyland conference that we did, or not Disneyland.
That was a
Orlando.
shit. That was a shit show.
All right, well, dude. I mean, I had just gotten over COVID. The world shut down like 4 days after.
Yeah, like 2 days after we flew home.
So many people had canceled. Felt terrible for Ari because nobody was there. But anyways, so we've talked about it.
Webby was there.
Webby was there.
Think so.
I don't remember. Anyways, so we talked about it over the years. It's come up in conversations, meetings, and stuff like that of our own. But the question was posed: what's something that you dislike about our industry, or something that the industry needs to get rid of? And every one of us kind of had our own thoughts on the matter. I think, except for me, actually. You guys had taken all mine by the time we got to me. I was the last one to go. But play it, Brandon.
We're going to come up with something that we don't like about our industry and that we would just want to get rid of, was Chad's word. So Chad, you start. What do you want to get rid of, you pessimistic turd in the punch bowl?
This came about from a debate in Texas as we were prepping for a show.
This is supposed to be quick.
What I want to get rid of is cross-testing and profit sharing.
Done.
I think there should be a minimum gateway. If you give the employees a percentage, then you should be able to max out whoever you want to max out. I don't think there should be more for older owners, less for younger owners.
Your turn, Mark.
I agree. I'm so excited because you just said it. I'm not stealing this from you. They can attest. I said it via email. TPA revenue sharing.
You want to get rid of it?
Yeah.
Clean. Cut it
Done.
out.
We'll just have to raise our fees to our clients, buddy.
Yeah, but it would even the playing field. Don't have to explain. Oh yeah, some people claim to credit it back. No, you don't.
I wrote a blog post saying the same
You sound
thing.
kind of passionate about that.
If I had to choose, and this is not as sexy as your guys' ones, but I would get rid of this March 15th deadline coming in 5 days, or at least push it back. So as a third party
distributions.
as a third party administration for corrective distributions, it's almost impossible to, in a period of what's really not 3.5 months, because I may not get census till February or middle of February,
March
God
14th.
forbid, March 14th, to process corrective distributions, run those failed ADP tests, get the message to, it's ridiculous that we have that short of time to do it. That's what I would get rid of. Justin, what would your turd in the punch bowl be? That's what we're calling this segment, by the way.
I'm kind of with both of these guys. I go back and forth. I know it's just one, but revenue
Pick your
sharing, I
own,
agree
Justin.
100%.
So you don't have any original ideas of your own?
No, they take them. I said them, you know.
Justin, your answer should be you want to get rid of all of us.
Well, it should be noted that Justin was on the other side of the debate regarding keeping the ADP and
ADP, and I go back and forth on it. But yeah, I am not a fan of.
All right, sounds good.
Paychecks and
Okay.
ADP.
We're going to move on to the next subject.
Wait, you're not going to give Ari a chance to answer that?
Yeah.
Like he may have
I
something
guess he is
built
the
up
original
there.
turd.
Yes, exactly.
The OT.
Exactly. I have to get a shirt like that. To me, I think it's always been the ADP test, and you know, I live in New York, and based on taxation and all that stuff, I can't believe somebody in New York or even California or even Massachusetts at $125,000 is really a highly compensated employee.
Yeah, good point.
To me, more 150, 175, and you know that obviously would affect the ADP test, which I think is kind of silly in the sense that obviously if you make more money, you could be able to save more, and if we're really truly caring about the retirement crisis, we kind of maybe go to a universal availability requirement like they have with 403B plans, or do something where you know the reality is that you know when we live in, you know, like I said, a high tax state. You know, $1.25 isn't exactly somebody who's really highly compensated employee.
Yeah, same's true in Cali.
$1.25.
Ari's trying to put me
Thank
out.
goodness.
So I feel like if Ari gets what he wants, there's no need for administrators anymore. Like if you just simplify all that shit.
We're going down that path, JD. We have to be consultants.
Is this what we're trying to do now? Is we get to like, what's the new one we would do, or same one?
Well, yeah, I guess I pose it to you guys. Like, do you guys still feel that is your number one, or with the couple of shit that's been in security?
I got a new number one.
Changed?
I
could go first.
I got one that's not going to be a shocker.
Justin goes first.
I'll be a gentleman. I'll let you guys go and see if any of mine are left by the time we.
You're just going to use our ideas again.
R&D.
That was a very nerdy one that I did, but there's a lot of like truth to that. The whole March 15th deadline for corrective distributions for a failed ADP test is totally unreasonable if you think about the administrators, whether bundled or unbundled, TPA or not, that are the ones that are actually doing those tests and trying to figure out which clients have failed those tests and then make those corrective distributions in that short period of time. You also have to understand that not every client's giving you census on January 1st. And so I really feel like the government should relook at that and kind of push that out. It makes no sense. But I realize most people think like, what is he talking about? That's super boring. So my new one is easy. If I could get rid of anything in this current, we all know what it is. I would just fucking lop the head off of PEPs. Literally chop the head off, and then I would piss and shit all over its severed head on the ground. That's mine. Who's next?
Mark.
Oh, Chad.
What?
Go ahead, Mark. What are you getting rid of?
I'm gonna go ahead and I think this is fun time because I could do something that's actually feasible or maybe could happen in 5 years.
Sorry, Samson.
Good work, Samson. I'm gonna go back in time and I'm gonna go to the Secure Act changes and I'm gonna get rid of the long-term, part-time.
Yeah.
Good one.
The auto enrollment features.
Oh, I love the auto enrollment feature.
Oh no,
good there.
I'm saying that sort of jokingly, just because it's like, right now people are a little bit frustrated by it, especially new clients who are setting it up. But yeah, that long-term part-time stuff, I would just cut it out.
Solid. That's a good call.
With you. When Justin sent that out, my immediate thought, and I'm sticking with it, individual annuity contracts in old 403Bs. They need to be gone. Every single one should be wiped off the face of the earth and modernized into a current day product.
Did you recently run into like a $30 million prospect that you can't get the assets to transfer or something?
Oh my God, dude. It's not just one. It's another one. I went into a group. My God, you guys. I went into the Special Olympics and I'm meeting with the Special Olympics who are currently set up with TIA. And I had to break this news to them. They had no idea. And so we it's with Fidelity. I lied. It's with Fidelity. And we reached out. Can you modernize them to at least, Chad won't be involved, at least get them on to a new product where we're not tied down by all these individual annuities? And Fidelity came back and said, nope, not a chance. You're stuck where you're at. Good dealings. See what happens to you. And these guys, they didn't enter into it. This relationship started in 1994 with Fidelity, and they're just screwed. I feel horrible.
I was going to say your idea is kind of boring and dumb, but you're right. Like, it's kind of like illegal. Like, it feels like it's illegal. It's like it's a contract thing, but it's like, it's not right. Right? Like if government.
Well, and so JD, just so you know, what's happening behind the scenes is we have engaged a very passionate ERISA attorney who is she's gonna go to battle with us on this. If you look at the contracts state you cannot allow a trust-to-trust transfer of assets because this is not a group plan, right?
Individual.
And they're also fighting that this is a group relationship that was entered in by your plan sponsor, but you have signed individual annuity contracts.
Yeah, right. I like that legal path, but
her stance is you can't be both. Like if you're saying this is an individual contracts, then you need to. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sure the odds are really good that they'll win that suit. I heard Fidelity has no like legal backing. Like they don't have any attorneys that over at Fidelity.
The point that she's trying to fight here is you should allow a group level transfer. You shouldn't need every participant to sign off on this. And in which case we can allow a clean buyout from a new record keeper because all assets will move.
You would be
but
okay
that's the
with
issue
it.
with the individual annuity side is you can't get all assets to move. Therefore, the new record keeper won't help buy out and you get assets. Right now, JD, that one has a 10-year surrender. A 10 year from most recent deposit.
That's crazy. And the fact of the matter is that decisions are being made as a group by an employer. It's not really individual accounts. You can make more of that argument, which is where this comes from, where if you had 16 different options to choose from. But again, even when you look back at those, meaning if you're a participant, you can choose from 16 different fucking carriers to put your investments. This happens at hospitals and schools and things like that. This is where this kind of comes from. But still, when you look back at all that, like that was poorly designed. Like we should have allowed nonprofits to just have 403B plans that are like 401k plans that don't have an ADP task and don't have top heavy and have a universal availability and just leave it at that. Like, why do we have to create these weirdo contracts with insurance companies with deferred charges and all this stuff? When we were supposed to be creating solutions that were easier and better for them, like more safe. And instead we've done the opposite, right?
Well, we have moved into a much more modern world, but to Webby's point up top, remember this relationship in particular started in 94. It was the wild, wild west until 2009 in the nonprofit space.
Right.
So now things are more modernized, but the fact that this provider won't even move them to their newer product, that's upsetting to me. It's like, look, I get it. You want your money because you entered into this. We're not even trying to move the plan. You can get your money. You can keep the assets, but at least get them into a program that is more reasonable for a modern day offering versus these old shitty annuities that are doing nothing for them.
Oh, I got news for you. That lawsuit's not going to work.
It's not a lawsuit. It's essentially a letter just trying to get the assets to transfer. And the other component of it is if these are individual accounts or if they're group accounts, depending on which way you want to battle it, when a plan does move, that nonprofit should be able to transition those assets into an IRA so that they can get it off of the 403B.
Right.
And they can't at this point.
I remember this same conversation happening 15, 20 years ago with plan and people saying, we need to get some, attorneys involved and send them a really scary letter. And that was a long time ago.
Now you know why I want to remove it. That's my remove.
Cool. That's a good
one.
one.
Get it out of here.
Justin, it's your category. So now.
I like what all three of you said, so I'll just go with that. In all seriousness, long-term part-time employees was my one. But the other one was it's really just stop passing so much legislation complicating the shit out of our industry for all of the plan sponsors. We got the starter K that just came through with Secure 2.0. We have all this shit we're supposed to be making it easier for everybody. We're trying to make those advances with fee disclosures and all that shit over the years. And I feel like we just kind of went backwards in many cases. Long-term part-time employees. You got obviously what I already said there. There was another one too.
It's a good one. I mean,
not Roth. I guess you can kind of say Roth employer contributions. Like, Jesus, we were not ready for that. And employees
aren't.
Yeah,
still aren't ready for it. Employees aren't.
Everybody knows all these new provisions have these like legal like deadlines or that they're effective. And then you go to clients and you're like, yeah, you can do that now. It's 2024. And then you guys have probably already witnessed this. You realize, well, the record keepers aren't ready to do half of the shit.
No. Employees don't understand what like Roth is going to do, right? Or Roth employer contributions and catch-ups and all that shit are going to do to them.
Well, and
on the
a simple, an easy one is Roth inside the simple options, right? I'm still telling clients that, or prospects that are considering a move from a simple to a 401k, that you don't get Roth in a simple. But by definition in law, you can. But no, I've only come across one, which I sent to you guys this week.
Yeah.
Simple provider that is offering Roth as a deferral feature. So it's not really there, even though it's legally there.
Would you guys, I have a question for you and then we'll wrap it. Would you blow up Secure 2.0 to get rid of these things you're bitching about and lose the tax
No.
credits along with
No.
it? Or would you
Not at all, but just don't pass these
Nope.
stupid fucking rules. That's
the problem, Justin. They're going to shove everything else in there. You want one thing passed, there's going to be 14 others that it's on somebody else's agenda and it's sneaking in.
Because the tax credits is just fucking the bomb, right? Is that you guys should be fishing in a barrel, right? Shooting fish in a barrel, or whatever the fucking term is. Like you can run around everywhere and tell people their startup plan is free.
I'll leave you guys with one thought. Justin and Mark, I've not shown this to you yet, but I altered some of our comparison materials today to try something new, and I like the way it flows. Simples converting to 401ks that don't have access to the tax credit because they've had the simple in place for a number of years. I'm showing all billed expenses and then articulating a tax deduction on it. And then I'm showing a net projected billed expense based upon the cost after the tax deduction. Never done it. In 15 years, I never felt like it was the right thing to do. But with all the credit conversation, I feel like we're there. And I used a simple decay conversion to do it on, and it went over really well in the point of sale.
Nice.
I love that Harlow's back in the action. And he's so right. I botch every fucking little saying all the time. Like, gotta get your pigs.
It happens, man.
Make sure you get your pigs in a row. It's supposed to be ducks. I always do that first. Okay. We do in Chapter.
I was trying to remember. I don't think we do in this one.
Fuck it. If it was
definitely not Chap R.
No Chat Bar champion. I give 500 points to Kush for getting here early.
Hey, it's Kush on the big TV again.
Well, I'm sick of me already. I got Kush Flash.
Kush
Kush Flash. Kush Flash. Kush Flash. Kush Flash. Kush Flash.
What does GDJD mean? I don't know.
God damn it.
God damn, JD.
So we will see you in the first of the next month, the first Thursday of the next month, with a normal Retireholics, which I promise y'all I plan to be fucked up before it even starts. And
who's our guest?
Yeah, and what's our date?
The 6th.
The 6th.
I'm waffling between two
you're not
guests.
here.
I'm going to keep secret for now. But they're both brand new, never been on the show. 2025. I want to share this. Oh yeah, thanks. Coach, call me on it. That's my son. That's what happens when you're a good parent. 2025. I am starting now, reaching out to conferences in 2025. My wife will be recovered from cancer and all will be great. And we'll be heading out on the road to do live shows again in 2025. And I would like to cherry pick 7 to 8 of the biggest and best ones. I would love for y'all to let me know where you'd like to see us. And then if you're sitting on those committees, let them know that 2025 will be the 10-year anniversary of Retireholics. And Brandon and I are bringing smoke machines and fucking fire cannons and like on stage shit. It's a show that you will never believe could exist.
I don't want to rise and grind anymore. I want to rise and then like lay right back down.
Like legit, I'm not even joking. We are going to spend so much money on these live shows. It's going to put us into debt. It's going to be ridiculous, the shit we do on stage. And so for those conferences out there, get in line it up, get us booked. Let's do it for 2025.
That's gonna suck when they all say no to us.
And then so big conference tour, new show that Brandon and I are working on, which I'm actually going to discuss with you guys at our meeting later this month. You fancy folks are going to come see me here in Southern California, and we're going to hang out for a couple days, the 4 of us, and I will talk more about that 2025 tour.
Five of us.
Huh?
5 of us.
5 of us.
Devin.
1, 2. Devin, yes. Sorry, Devin. All right. It's been another episode of Retireholics. We're changing the retirement plan industry one beer at a time. There are 216 past shows on YouTube. Approximately 185 of them are total dog shit. Go out there, sift
Like
through
this
them,
one?
and see if you can find the good ones. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace out.